Welcome to the Eat This Book podcast. I'm Michael Whitworth. Each day we take a small piece of scripture and we sit with it. Not a quick snack that disappears before lunch, not a chore you check off of a list, but rather a meal meant to be savored. So pull up a chair. Let's eat. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. Wait, what? Sarah had been dead for perhaps a few decades. Abraham is well past 100, and he takes another wife? The man who needed a miracle to father Isaac at 100 is now having more children. Keturah bears him 6 sons, Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. 6 more sons from a man who waited 25 years for one. So what happened? Some scholars think Keturah was a concubine Abraham had earlier, now elevated to wife status after Sarah's death. Others take the text at face value. Abraham remarried, and his body, once as good as dead, was so revitalized by God's power that he fathered children into old age. Either way, the narrator wants us to know, Abraham's story didn't end with Isaac. Life continued. Family expanded. The old man wasn't finished. But notice what Abraham does with this expanded family. Abraham gave all he had to Isaac. All. Everything. The inheritance, the promise, the covenant blessing, it all goes to Isaac, the son of Sarah, the child of promise, the one through whom the nations will be blessed. Keturah's sons get something. The text says Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines, but they don't get the inheritance. They don't get the land, and they don't get the covenant. And while he was still living, he sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the east country. This sounds harsh, but Abraham has learned something. He's seen what happens when rival heirs compete. He watched the tension between Sarah and Hagar, between Isaac and Ishmael. He knows that unclear succession breeds conflict. So he settles it while he's alive. Isaac is the heir. Everyone else gets gifts and a send-off. Eastward, away from the promised land, away from the inheritance. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. Abraham is protecting Isaac's position and preventing future strife. These are the days of the years of Abraham's life, 175 years. He was 75 when God called him from Haran. That meant he lived exactly 100 years in covenant relationship with God, a century of walking with the Almighty, a century of promises, failures, and faithfulness. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. There are 4 phrases there, and each one matters. In a good old age. Not just old, a good old age. His years weren't marked by bitterness or regret. He didn't spend his final decades angry at God or disappointed with life. He aged well, and he finished well. An old man. The Hebrew word is zakin, which means elder, ancient, venerable. Abraham had become what his name promised, a father figure, a patriarch, a source of wisdom for generations. Full of years, not just long-lived, but satisfied. The Hebrew word here means satiated or content, having had enough. Abraham didn't die grasping for more time. He died complete. He had seen enough. He had lived enough. He was ready. This is how you want to die, not clinging to life, but releasing it. Full, satisfied, and content. And then there's that phrase, gathered to his people. This phrase appears throughout Genesis for the patriarchs. It suggests something beyond mere death. Abraham joins those who went before. He's reunited with ancestors. There's a people, a community, a belonging that transcends the grave. Abraham wasn't just buried, he was gathered. Death was homecoming. Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah. I want you to stop and feel this. Isaac and Ishmael together at their father's grave. These two haven't been together since Genesis 21, when Ishmael was sent into the wilderness. That was decades ago. Ishmael was a teenager. Isaac was a toddler. They were separated by Sarah's jealousy, by Hagar's expulsion, by years of distance. But here at the end, they stand side by side, burying their father in the cave Abraham bought for Sarah. The text doesn't tell us what they said to each other, It doesn't describe any reconciliation, conversation. It just shows us the image. Two brothers, once divided, now united at the grave. Death has a way of doing that. The things that separated people suddenly seem smaller when you're standing at a tomb. The old conflicts matter less. The shared loss creates common ground. In the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, east of Mamre, the field that Abraham purchased from the Hittites. The narrator repeats the location and the purchase, and this matters. Abraham bought this cave. He overpaid for it. He insisted on clear title. And now it serves its purpose. It's the family tomb, the anchor in the promised land, the one piece of real estate Abraham actually owned. Sarah is here, and now Abraham joins her. Later, Isaac and Rebekah will be buried here, and then Jacob and Leah. The cave of Machpelah becomes the patriarchal resting place. And there Abraham was buried with Sarah, his wife, together again. They traveled from Ur together. They wandered through Canaan together. They waited for Isaac together. They grew old together. They were separated by her death. And now they're together again in the cave, in the promise, waiting for resurrection. After the death of Abraham, God blessed Isaac, his son, and Isaac settled at Beer Lahai. The blessing transfers. Abraham is gone, but God is not finished. The covenant continues. The promise advances. Isaac is now the carrier of everything God started with Abraham. And where does Isaac settle? Beer Lahai. Remember that name? It's the well where the angel found Hagar. The well she named the well of the living one who sees me. The place where God met an Egyptian slave girl in the wilderness. Isaac lives at Hagar's well. Is it coincidence? Or is Isaac drawn to the place where God showed mercy to his father's other family? Is he honoring Ishmael's mother by dwelling where she was saved? The text doesn't explain, but the geography is suggestive. Isaac settles at the well of seeing, the well of mercy, the well of the God who notices the outcast. What does Abraham's death teach us? First, you can finish well. Abraham had failures. He lied about Sarah twice. He slept with Hagar. He nearly sacrificed his son. His faith wavered more than once. But he died old and full of years. Content, complete. The failure didn't define the finish. Grace covered the gaps. Abraham ended well despite a messy middle. Second, clarity now prevents conflict later. Abraham gave everything to Isaac while he was still alive. He sent the other sons away with gifts but not inheritance. He settled the succession before he died. Ambiguity breeds strife. If you have decisions to make about legacy, make them. Don't leave your family guessing. Don't create competition from the grave. Be clear. Third, death can reunite what life divided. Isaac and Ishmael standing together at the tomb. Whatever happened between them in the intervening decades, they came together for this. The relationships you think are beyond repair might not be. Death has a way of stripping away the petty. Sometimes the funeral is the first step toward healing. Fourth, the promise outlives the person. Abraham died, but God blessed Isaac. The covenant didn't depend on Abraham staying alive. It depended on God staying faithful. You are not the point. The promise is the point. And the promise continues after you're gone. So here's what Genesis 25, 1 through 11 would have us savor today. If you're aging, if the years are piling up and the end is closer than the beginning, this passage says you can finish full. Not empty, not bitter, not grasping, but full, satisfied, ready to be gathered to your people. If you have unfinished business, relationships fractured, inheritances unclear, words unsaid, the passage says deal with it now. Abraham settled things while he was still living, and you should too. And if you're wondering whether your work matters, whether anything you've built will survive you, this passage says the blessing transfers. God blessed Isaac after Abraham died. Your faithfulness plants seeds you'll never see harvested. Abraham breathed his last 175 years old, full of years. He was gathered to his people. Isaac and Ishmael buried him together, and the promise continued, because it always does. Next time on Eat This Book, two brothers struggle in the womb. One grows up to hunt, the other learns to wait. One hungry afternoon, a birthright is traded for a bowl of red stew. Join me again in Genesis 25 as we watch the future of the promise hinge on appetite and discover what it means to despise something sacred. Thanks for reading with me. Until next time, may the Word dwell in you richly.